Hello, welcome to Straight Talk Africa, live from the Voice of America studios here in Washington. It's Wednesday, March 23rd. I am Shaka Sali.
Well, hello to you, Shaka, and hello to all our viewers and listeners on the continent and elsewhere. I'm Mariama Diallo, your social media reporter.
Today, we'll talk about the significance of Sunday's Benin's presidential runoff. Could this be the beacon of hope for African democracy?
Well, coming up later in our SCA inbox, we'll share your thoughts on the West African nation's election results. That's through your emails, tweets, and Facebook comments. That's ahead on Straight Talk Africa. Hope you'll stay with us.
Across Africa, millions of voters went to the polls Sunday to elect presidents, members of parliaments, and in the case of Senegal, vote on a referendum to determine the length of a presidential term. My colleague, Vincent Makori, host of Africa 54, has more.
In Benin, Prime Minister Lionel Sinzo conceded defeat to businessman Patrice Talon in a second-round runoff presidential vote after neither won an outright majority in the first round of voting on March the 6th. Sinzo, a former economist and investment banker backed by outgoing President Thomas Boniyayi and the main opposition Democratic Renewal Party, was an early front-runner in the election after winning the first round of voting. President-elect Patrice Talon is a well-known entrepreneur who made his money in the key sector of cotton and running Cotonou's port. He is one of the most powerful figures in Beninese business. In 2012, he was accused of being the brains behind a bizarre alleged plot to poison the president, then the following year of attempting to endanger the security of the state. At the time, Talon was being prosecuted in several embezzlement cases and fled the country. Boniyayi pardoned him in May 2014, paving the way for his return and his run for the presidency. Voters in Niger cast ballots in the country's first ever presidential runoff Sunday, with incumbent Mahamadou Issoufou on track for a second term as the opposition observed a boycott. The 64-year-old Issoufou, a former mining engineer, was facing his main challenger, jailed opposition leader Hama Amadou, 66. Amadou had been forced to campaign from behind bars after being detained on November 14th on baby trafficking charges that he says are bogus and were aimed at keeping out of the race. Just days before the vote, he was evacuated from prison and flown to Paris for medical treatment, with the government saying he was suffering from an unspecified chronic ailment. Issoufou, who is running for a second time in office, took a solid lead with 48.4% in the initial vote on February 21st, way ahead of Amadou, who scored 17.7%. During the campaign, Issoufou, who took office in 2011, repeatedly pledged to bring peace and prosperity to the desolate but uranium-rich country.
5 ans, un seul mandat.
5 years, a single term, is not enough to overcome challenges, in particular the security challenges. Do not forget that a few days ago we were the victim of a double attack.
In the Republic of Congo, Sunday's voting was held under immediate blackout. The government says it ordered mobile phone and internet services cut for the day across the oil-producing Central African country for reasons of security and public tranquility. It also banned motor vehicle use nationwide. Despite protests in which at least 18 demonstrators died, Zossooungbo pushed through constitutional changes in October to remove term and age limits that would have prevented him from standing again. The government rejected opposition accusations it was preparing to cheat, claiming its opponents were laying the groundwork for post-election chaos. In East Africa, the ruling party candidate in Tanzania's semi-autonomous Zanzibar was declared the winner in Sunday's rerun of presidential elections, boycotted by the opposition. The incumbent Zanzibar President Ali Mohamed Shein of the national ruling CCM party won 91.4% of the votes in Sunday's ballot. In October, the Zanzibar Electoral Commission called for a rerun, citing fraud, a charge the opposition says was made up. Opposition CAF leader Saif Sharif Hamadi has lost 4 previous elections since 1995 by a narrow margin. In Senegal, turnout was low for Sunday's controversial referendum on sweeping constitutional reforms, which include cutting the presidential term from 7 to 5 years. Political opponents call on people to vote no in protest against President Macky Sall. Many say he has failed to deliver on his campaign promises, including creating jobs for the young, boosting the economy, and rooting out corruption.
Thanks, Vincent, for that interesting report.